Hello. So now that everybody's, excited about serious Thor being back, I wanted to, take us back a little bit to silly Thor. Remember him? You know, Ragnarok, Love and Thunder. I wanted to specifically talk about what I think the problem with silly Thor was. Now, here's the thing. Taika Waititi is a great director. He makes good movies, which is why silly Thor, as I call him, in Love and Thunder was kind of, how I say this, jarring, to say the least, because the problem with Silly Thor is a problem that Taika Waititi has never had before in any of his shows or movies. And the problem with Silly Thor wasn't that he was silly, the problem was that he was silly all the time. So what I'm saying is like this. There's no other bigger example of this than the Sif scene, with Lady Sif. Sorry, I had to look up some names. So, imagine, if you will, you're Thor, right? In the first movie, you had an OG friend group consisting of your brother, Loki, Lady Sif, Fandrel, and Volstagg. Those are the names I had to look up. I'm sorry. But anyway, those are your friends. Those are your original friends. You've been friends for God knows how long. Those are your original friends. Then, your sister, long lost sister, comes back, myrtleizes two of your friends, Volstagg and Fandro. Myrtleizes both of them. They're both gone. Then Thanos comes into the picture, murks your brother too. You now have one surviving friend of your original friend group. Then you find her, and she is in the process of dying. She is dying in the snow, surrounded by bodies. Okay? You find her, and she is dying. And when she looks at you, she looks up at you, and she goes, "Don't worry. My soul will now be in Valhalla." And then you look at her dead in her eyes as she is about to go. And she's about to just go to the other side. And you look at her dead in her eyes and you go, "Oh, actually, you can't go to Valhalla only if you've died in battle. So you're not really going." What the fuck? Like, why would you say that? Was I wrong when I said you were friends? Why would you ever say that? I don't get it. That's not funny. What are you talking about? Could you imagine could you imagine somebody is an atheist and they just go up to a person who's Christian and dying and go, "Actually, there's no afterlife, so you're not going anywhere. You're never going to see your family again." Could you imagine if somebody who's Christian did that to the atheist? That's not good in any other context. In any context, that doesn't make any sense to do. Why would you say that? I don't understand. That was just so jarring. How could you do that? What? That's a big problem, you know? Now I think this could very well be a teaching moment for other writers. Because there should be a certain amount of balance when it comes to the happy stuff and the grim stuff in a story. And balance isn't actually, equal parts, just equal parts power, equal parts this. This balance can be depending on what the story is. For example, if you're going for a happier story, you'll probably have more levity, and you have to space it out from the grim moments. And, vice versa with other stories. But it's not enough to just have a balance. You have to have a clear, not a disconnect, but a transition into it, I guess. For example, in Mulan, when they're singing and stuff like that, and then they come across the battlefield with all with their bodies and stuff, there's not a song sung after that moment. All the songs come before that moment. Not a song is sung after it. Now this helps create tension and stakes for the movie. So another way that you can probably do this is, I'd say, by having, like, in one scene they're all joking, then the next scene it's about, like, neutral, and then the next scene is probably, the grim stuff. But that's just me kind of spitballing while I'm on the fly here. I'm just walking. And another way I think you could do it is probably like having a transition into the things. Like, for example, let's say you're writing a book about a group of adventurers, and they're like trying to go to a haunted house or something, and they're confident, so they're telling a bunch of jokes and laughing and stuff. But then the book, if this is a book, you start going into descriptions, like how the creaking of the floorboards, or the sound of the rain, or even if there is no sound, the weird stillness of the air, things like that. That's just me spitballing on the fly, though. Anyway, that was it.